Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Space Snacks. Today's guest is Athena Brensberger. And hello, Athena.
Hello! I am so excited to be here.
I'm so thrilled to have you. When you said yes, I was like doing my happy dance, you
Yeah!
know, because we met briefly during Yuri's night.
Yes. Oh man, I miss Yuri's night so much.
That was such a great space party, global space party, right?
Yeah, it's so good. It's like any excuse to just like party with a bunch of people dressed in their favorite space outfits, like under a space shuttle.
I know. I've only done the Kennedy Space Center one. I haven't done LA, and that's why I was really excited to go to LA this year. And then I was like, no.
Oh,
You
online. Yeah,
know?
but I loved your segment online. That was so good.
Oh, thank you. I
Yeah.
love those too. And for those of you that are listening, Athena is she's an astrophysicist, but also fashion. And I love the shirt you're wearing, the earrings.
Take me home.
Take me with you. And of course, we're going to talk about food. But let's give our audience a little bit of your background. And so, who are you? What have you been doing?
Yeah, so Athena Brensberger. I'm also known as Astro Athens on a lot of social media channels. Actually, I started that way back in undergrad. I was doing research at the Hayden Planetarium in New York City. So anyone give me a shout out for my New Yorkers out there. And I was actually studying early planetary system formations, so proplids or protoplanetary disks. Obsessed. It's one of my favorite subjects to talk about when it comes to astrophysics is protostars and the protoplanetary systems, because to me that's like looking at how we all formed, you and me formed, our whole solar system formed, and it's just fascinating. So while that was happening, I was doing the research. I got scouted for America's Next Top Model, and I didn't go through with the show. Sorry to get everyone excited, but I went through the competition with the audition and everything, and got chosen for the top 12. And then pretty much had to choose, and was like, I really want to do more of my research. Like I loved astrophysics. I'm like, I want to pursue this more. So I actually turned it down to pursue astrophysics. But during that casting process, they were like, Twitter was getting really popular. So they're like, create a Twitter. You have to have a Twitter as a model for this. So I'm like, well, the iPhone 3 back then used to autocorrect Athena as Athens. And I'm like, I want to keep astronomy in there somehow. So I just put together Astro Athens, and that kind of spiraled into, what's happening now, where that's kind of become just my platform of advocating about space exploration and talking to people about the new discoveries every single week that are happening in space and why it's important and why we need to, explore the cosmos more, both through, telescopes and physically. And you know that as an analog astronaut, it's so important. So yeah.
I love that, and I love that story of you having to come to that decision, because I will let you know, I love that show, America's Next Top Model. So I was a little bit obsessed watching that every week. Have you always been into space, even when you were really young?
It started around 12, which I think is a pretty common year for a lot of kids to kind of start following an interest. Now, the thing was, since I grew up in New York City, it wasn't a super romantic story of I'm laying outside, I see all the stars, because there's so much light pollution. I'm lucky if I see the moon one night. And so it wasn't really the easiest. But it was actually because of my best friend, Anika Ahmed, who gave me a book that was images from the Hubble Space Telescope. And when I was 12, I was really into oil painting. And I'm like, wow, this is a book of artists. These must be paintings. And she's like, no, these are real images of things called galaxies and nebulae, and they're millions of light years away. And there's probably other planets out there like Earth, and there might be other living beings. And it was like at 12 years old, I just was like, boom, like this is the ultimate job as a human being to have, because this is understanding what's more than just this and what society built, and it was just like this epiphany. And I was like, I got to pursue it. And I started at age 12. And once I got to high school, which was a crazy coincidence of how I got into the school, I won't get into right now, but turned out it was the only public school in Brooklyn that had a planetarium. So I started learning, how to track asteroids and learning about like the constellations and how we had a fiber optic planetarium. It wasn't even digital yet. So it was so cool. And yeah, and then that led into, college, and I ended up going to the one city University of New York. So it was actually CSI, which is the College of Staten Island. And it was the one city university that had an observatory on campus. It was just, all of this was like coincidences too. Like I didn't even intentionally pick it. It just kind of happened. And it actually happened because I didn't have like the best scores with SATs and stuff. And when it came to college applications, I didn't qualify for a lot of schools. And this school ended up being the biggest opportunity of my life because that's where I met my mentor. It's where I ended up doing research for NASA, like as an undergrad, and meeting Neil deGrasse Tyson, like being at the Athena Planetarium, and it just started this whole, awesome path. It was crazy.
It's funny how things like that work out, and a lot of times, I love how you brought up the grades, and you're like, I didn't have necessarily the best grade. I didn't either, and so, but ending up following your passion, and you end up in the right place. Like I went to college kicking and screaming because my parents were like, you're going to go to college with your brother. Who wants to go to school with their older brother?
Yep, I know.
And but it turned out to be the best experience for me and what I needed at the time. I just didn't realize that. And again, it's funny how those little things align and bring you down a path that you could never imagine.
Yeah, you're so right about that too. Cause it's like, I think that that's the joy of life. That's a joy of interacting with other people is kind of trusting just like that path, and letting it be and letting it happen because, so many times we'll get caught up in our ideologies of how the system should work with our life, but our life is not a system. It's like a matrix of multiple systems intertwined. And it's like, there's constantly all these loops, and and it's such an incredible journey. But yeah, it's like I can go on and on about the philosophy of this. It's crazy.
Which is why I love talking to you. And what's interesting about that, and I want to stress also, is that we get hung up on name schools, like, oh, I didn't go here or there, and you know what? In the end, it's what you make of that opportunity wherever you are. And I'm a community college professor, and I see it all the time with amazing students. They come through my system, and people just worried about them not getting a chance because they don't go to a big name brand school. I'm like, no, you got this.
Yeah, completely. I actually just talked about my best friend the other night, Anika, the one who introduced me to astrophysics, about Python and learning Python. And how, the computer language, and how it's extraordinary because there's these amazing stories of individuals who have backgrounds just like with a degree in communications or political science, and they'll take like courses online and be self-taught with computer language and Python, and they boom, like they can have huge jobs at huge companies. And you hear it from CEOs all the time. I mean, I'm sure Elon Musk has said it. We've had CEOs from Google say it, and Uber, and they'll say, we really look for those who are self-driven, who actually can show that they, they're innovators, and regardless of the paperwork or the background of the school that you went to. And it's so extraordinary. And I think we live in a tech era, and this is, especially now being in quarantine, I think that I've seen a lot of people choose to say, okay, I'm going to make these days at home learning opportunities to innovate and to take advantage of the technology that's in front of us in the technological era. So it's actually, I think it's extraordinary to see the outcome of such a, something that is quite negative on the world, but seeing the innovation that's coming out of it. Yeah.
I feel exactly the same way. I feel like we could talk about everything. Yeah. And we haven't even talked about food yet, which is so awesome. Yeah. So going to food, do you have a special like meal of the day that you particularly love? And if so, what is it and why?
I'm obsessed with breakfast. And the reason I love it so much is because if I can get myself up early enough and motivated, my appetite will start instantly. And I'm like, unless I'm really tired and dragging, I have to rush in and get on the subway and go to a job, then I'll just have coffee. But if I can get up early and really have my mornings, and like especially in nature, hearing the birds chirping, it's like having a good like toast with like it's pretty simple. Toast with honey and a little bit of cinnamon on top, and then like avocado, and mashing up the avocado and making like an avocado toast. I know, so millennial of me to say avocado toast, but I love it. Like I crave coffee the night before. Like there's times, even last night I was saying we were watching a movie and it was like 10 p.m. and there's a guy drinking coffee in the movie, and I'm like, I can't wait for my morning coffee. Like, it just, I have such an infatuation with coffee, and I have an espresso machine. So having that in the morning and like just slowly waking up and having a good nutritious meal, it's like the best. But it's hard to choose my favorite though, to answer your question about what the favorite would be, because I'm obsessed with making smoothie bowls, and the smoothie would have like 16 ingredients in it. Like it's like a smoothie bowl, like it's like a full meal, and then topping it with a bunch of stuff like cocoa nibs and like sliced everything, sliced kiwi, citrine, like all these different, not citrine, that's a stone, different citrus, so orange or mandarin, yeah, and just putting all that on and like sprinkling chia seeds. Like I love that. That's one of my favorites, but it's, yeah, it's so tough to decide. I just like, but then I love chips and salsa. I don't know, but I don't have that for breakfast. So yeah, that's my
So
favorite.
you're a snacker. Are you a snacker?
I definitely am a snacker, huge snacker. Yeah, I'm obsessed with chips and salsa. It's like one of my weaknesses. I love it. And yeah, and I love like snacking the other day. Salt and vinegar chips, kettle cooked, the best, like my favorite. I just, yeah, that stuff is, it's my number one.
I gotta ask, have you tried making your own salsas now? And if so, what kind? Do you make your own salsa?
I think I have before in the past. I know that like my favorite homemade salsa is with cilantro, like a little bit of cilantro added and some like chopped onions. And I don't usually add jalapeno. I think I did make a salsa once before, like a long time ago, but just like chopping the tomatoes and adding in like some garlic pepper, like garlic powder, and putting it. But the cilantro is the best part, because I mean, you can tell homemade like salsa when they have cilantro, because it's really difficult, I think, to have it like preserved and have it still have that strong taste. So it has to be fresh, and it's like, oh, like I could actually taste it right now. Like now I want salsa.
We have it in my garden, and so when I make my salsa, that's what I do too, is put some of that cilantro in, and it's so good. I just love it.
Yeah.
And so thinking about space and space exploration, are you if you could go anywhere, one, do you want to travel like to Mars or to the moon or the International Space Station? Or are you a stay home and look up at the stars kind of person? Which one are you when it comes to exploration?
I'm definitely the one to physically want to go there, for sure. I've always been, I love getting on planes. Like I love traveling. Flying is one of my favorite things. Once I got over the whole like eardrum thing, because I get it really bad, the eardrum imbalance, whatever, the pressure in the ears. And so I actually have to wear specific earplugs. But once I figured that out, it's great. I'm like, every time I fly, I like to pretend like as if it's just going to like go through the atmosphere and through the stratosphere and then go out into space and then land on the moon. So I definitely want to, go to the, a space station in the future. I don't know if it would be the International Space Station, if that'd be around still, or if they're going to evolve it into something else. But I definitely think going to some type of orbiting space station would be incredible. And then I would love to go to the moon's surface. Like, I know so many people are like, oh, the moon is like, boring and it's just a rock. And it's like, it's just fascinating to me. And here's the beautiful moon. And I love it. And I'm going to share my Apollo 11 photo of Take Me Home. So of landing on the moon. And I just feel like I would love to see Earth from the moon and be able to just, I don't know, like step on and hear, like see if I can hear any of the crunching, like, maybe it'd just be psychological, but I just be on the moon, and I don't know, I feel like it'd be so incredible.
You just made me think of being from back east too, and crunching on snow and that sound.
Yeah. I love the crunching of snow. That's one of the only things I like about snow, other than snowmen. It's like,
Oh my God, I'm the same way. The same. That's like if you're gonna put me in the snow, it better be able to crunch it on a sunny day, crunching it. I remember that so well as a kid. But
yeah,
Earthrise is one of the things that I dream of when it comes to going to the moon. I can't imagine anything more spectacular than
yeah,
being able to see the Earth rise.
yeah, yeah. I think that would be something that just, I think it's gonna just put all of our perspectives in a completely different, I don't know, a different bowl almost, like if we were just talking about food. Yeah.
I totally agree with that. And so,
Yeah.
if you on the moon, what would you want to eat? If you could go and have a
Oh
meal on the
my
moon, what would
God.
it be?
What would I want to eat? It's weird that the first thing I thought was out. Well, I would want to FaceTime, but other than that, FaceTiming is different. What would be something I'd want to eat on the moon? Honestly, probably chips and salsa. It just like it would be like it would make me so happy. Anytime I travel, I have to have chips and salsa. It's like literally my favorite. I mean, I'm also obsessed with hummus, but like chips and salsa. It's just I would definitely want to have that on the moon. It's like such a weird thing, but it just I
It
don't know.
being from the Southwest, I'm like, yep, I hear ya.
Yeah.
The good salsa and the chip. Oh, a nice light chip. When you come to Phoenix next time, I'm going to take you on a salsa tour. And so we'll
I
make homemade
love
salsa, but then we'll also do a little salsa tour in through Phoenix.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know there would be such a thing, a salsa tour. That sounds like
Yeah, yes.
and like
And
homemade tortilla chips. Oh, I'm so
so
hungry.
who besides me, of course, would you want to be eating chips and salsa with on the moon, and why?
Um, I would definitely want to have my best friend Anika there for sure. Anika Ahmed, because she's, the one who introduced me to astrophysics. I don't know though. I actually never asked her if she would be interested in like exploring, like actually leaving Earth. I actually have no idea. I should probably ask her that after this live stream. If you're watching, let me know. But I feel like it would be awesome to be with her, on the moon. We would just be like, well, you know what? It started chips and salsa in LA, and now we're on the moon having chips and salsa.
I
Yeah.
think that that's great. And, the idea of bringing your best friend, and especially since she was so influential in who you've become today,
Yeah.
that's just such a fantastic story. I love that.
Yeah.
Um,
She's the
now,
best.
do you like to cook? Do you like to bake? Are you a takeout person? What are you when it comes to food at home?
I am definitely like not the best with cooking. I mean, I can cook. Like I definitely can cook if I need to. Like I'm great at making just like a quick quinoa bowl and like stir frying some vegetables. I love grilling veggies. I actually eat predominantly vegan.
Mhm.
I was raw vegan for about 2 years and then transitioned into full veganism. And now it's kind of like a balance, depends on traveling, because I know it's really tough sometimes with traveling. Like, for instance, I went down to French Guiana to the Ariane Space Center, and it was like I couldn't, there wasn't really much vegan food. And so, it changes. But at home, I'll have like quinoa and chopped veggies, and I'll make some like guacamole, homemade guacamole, and like bake a sweet potato and put all that together. So I definitely enjoy it when I will take the time to cook. But most of the time, I don't do takeout too much. But I love it when people will cook for me, because I'm so appreciative of that, and it's just like I don't know, you just get a different flavor, like different spices they use, like different seasoning. I'm such a spice girl too. Like I mean, both like like having like hot, like temperature hot. Oh, wait, no, not temperature hot, but like spiciness, like cayenne pepper. But then I also love adding like all the spices, thyme, rosemary, paprika. Those are my favorite spices. And I will just pile it onto my vegetables when I grill them.
That sounds awesome. And do you like to experiment with combinations of spices when you're
Yeah.
Yes, trying to figure that out. That's been one of my missions. I have some staples I go to, like I'm a definite garlic girl. I can't get enough of that. But really starting to learn more of what combinations can work well. And sometimes you get surprised by some of the things. You're like, cinnamon on this? But it works.
Ooh, I haven't done that before. The only time I've had cinnamon has been like in breakfast items, smoothies. Maybe I should try cinnamon on some stuff.
Especially if anything that has a sweet potato in it.
Yeah,
because
right.
it will, yeah,
Yeah, I've
just
definitely done that for sure. I think I had something once where it was lemon and cinnamon because it was like a sweet potato and then it was like lemon asparagus or something like that. And it was so good together. And it was like
Mhm.
lemon and garlic, fresh garlic. Yes, I'm also a garlic girl too. And then having the cinnamon on the sweet potato. And it was like such a great pairing.
Right? Where you just are like, it's interesting. I'm trying to get off one of my things. There are two things. Salt. I love salt. So chips
Yeah.
and just saltiness, but also sugar and trying to reduce my sugar. And so now I've been thinking a lot more about spices that will like trick my brain, and cinnamon's one of them, or any kind of tea that kind of makes me think I'm having something sweet when I'm not having something sweet. It's
You're so right. Actually, there's so many good teas out there. I'm obsessed with rooibos. Rooibos is my
oh,
favorite tea. Yeah,
mhm.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing it weird or what, but it's a South African tea and it's so good and it has that sweetness to it. Oh, it's amazing.
Going back to your drink of choice, which is coffee. Do you like, pimp up your coffee? Do you like it straight? Are you you know what I'm saying? Do you like special creams? Do you like to add a dash of cinnamon? Do you like the mochas?
Yeah, so with coffee, I mean, I think there isn't a type of coffee that I've had that I didn't like. I'm so wide variety with it. My favorite though is I love a good espresso. I am
Mm.
such an espresso girl. Like I love a good pressed espresso. And so that being said, because I didn't get an espresso maker, I have a Nespresso maker. It's the little pod. It's great for me. I absolutely love it. And I can have it black by itself, no sugar, no milk or anything, because it has a natural, like, it's not cream, but they call it like the foam that starts to form just because of the press.
Yeah.
And you see it rippling. And one of my favorite things is to take boomerangs of the rippling for my Instagram. And it's so cool. Yeah, you get like a good flavor. You don't need anything. But I did get it with a milk frother. And so one of my crazes has been to test out different types of milk. And I mean, I don't drink dairy milk, so it's oat milk, a
Mhm.
bunch of different brands of almond milk. Oh my gosh, I got this one. It's just 1.99 Whole Foods brands, like almond milk with vanilla, but it's like not sweetened, it's unsweetened.
Mhm.
Oh, you put that in the milk frother. It's the best frother. I mean, it froths the best. And you pour that on and you just sprinkle a little bit of cinnamon with like 2 shots of espresso. Perfect
Okay.
morning.
Now you're making me think that I might have to invest in a coffee machine, because that sounds amazing.
Oh, it's the best. Oh, it was, oh my gosh. And I got it like during Black Friday on Amazon. I had a gift card. It was the best. And I like, yeah. And I every single morning, that's the one thing I do now.
So those of you that are listening today, I'll draw one lucky person will win a postcard with a recipe on it. And so
Oh,
leave a comment in the chat if you're listening, and we'll draw that, and I'll let you know later on. And so,
oh,
have you been to Italy? Because Italy is like the capital.
no, I haven't. Not yet. I finally just started exploring Europe for the first time. So I've only been to Paris. I really want to explore Italy. I'm like dying to go to Italy. I want to so bad. I'm also like a big wine person, so I really want to explore that.
I've been to Italy multiple times, and I could eat my way across that country and
Oh,
drink my way. It is fantastic, and especially also because of the fashion too. Because I know you like to combine not only your love of astrophysics and space, but also fashion, modeling, all of those kinds of things.
sorry, a little bit of voguing there. Okay, sorry.
And so tell us a little bit about how that evolved and how things have been going in that area.
Oh man, it's been such a journey. I mean, I've been modeling for about 10 years now, and it first started, like I was telling you earlier, in undergrad when America's Next Top Model happened. I kind of had this decision to make of, okay, do I want to? Once I said no to America's Next Top Model, I was like, let me pursue my research, and I was like, maybe I can pursue both at the same time, and it was like really difficult. So I pretty much had to say, okay, do I take a semester off to see if this will work, or do I just not do it? And my mentors were like, you know what, like give it a shot, like take off one semester. do it like a trial and error as you would with a scientific method. Like treat it that way. And I love, ever since then, I apply almost every decision that way. And with a trial and error. So I was like, let me take off one semester, see what happens. And like right away, I got booked for a job. It was just through a website. I saw like an ad on Facebook for casting for Mike, not Christian Siriano. It was Michael Anthony. Right when he won Project Runway, and I tried out. I did a casting for the fashion show, got casted, and at the show got scouted for 2 different agencies. And right away, that took me like overseas. It was extraordinary. Like I look back on it, and I'm like, wow. I mean, I modeled in so many countries. I was like Hong Kong, South Korea, like down in Chile was one of my favorites because right by a bunch of the different observatories down there, and it was just extraordinary. And so I pursued that so much, where I learned a lot about like being on television, communicating with people, what really like kind of like attracts the eye when it comes to marketing and advertising. And I'm like, we need that for space. Right. And so I'm like, I'm going to start like a whole space thing, but about like advocating for this. And the fashion kind of just became this merging where I started seeing space fashion everywhere on the runway. I mean, Nick Graham, who's a men's suit designer company, men's suit designer. And he had Buzz Aldrin and Bill Nye the Science Guy walk down the runway for his, fashion, New York Fashion Week. And then I saw Chanel, they did Paris Fashion Week, and they had a model rocket go off at their show. And it was just like show after show after show was featuring space in some way. And I'm like, this is extraordinary. And this is because it's now getting to, the children, it's getting to the kids, It's getting to the designers, the influential people in the world. And I was so happy about that because I always wanted to use the industry of fashion to, promote, for one, like reusability, sustainability, using dyes that aren't harmful to our environment, donating the samples that aren't used, like all of that. And now seeing that it's also transferring in science, it just makes me feel so fulfilled. So the journey's been incredible. I decided to pursue the science full time with communicating and my website. And then I went back to New York just to visit my mom for Christmas, and then got signed to Wilhelmina Models, which is one of like the biggest agencies in the world. Yeah, it was extraordinary. And the director was a booker of mine from a previous agency, and it just worked out so extraordinary. And they were like my family. And so this was about a year ago, and it's been so awesome. There has been so much overlapping. And I think my favorite thing is when I'm on set, when people, getting the hair and makeup done, everyone's setting up the camera equipment, everyone's kind of learning about each other, like, oh, so, what are you interested in, blah, blah. Space will come up inevitably. My favorite part is all I have to do is mention that, like, I love space and space exploration and astronomy, and I won't be the one talking anymore. Everyone takes over because it turns out everyone's a space lover. So many people will just be like, I have so many questions about the moon. Like, I've always wanted to explore. I grew up watching the space shuttles launch off. And it's like everyone has this deep connection in their heart to space. Yeah. And that to me was just like another turning point of this is so important, what I'm doing, like, and what others are doing. And oh man, it's been incredible.
I love that. And one of the things that I really love about you is your passion for science communication and what that means for future generations, and really kind of being that role model of saying, yeah, I love all of these different things, but I can combine them in interesting ways to inspire everybody that I come in contact with. Yeah. Would you love to have your own fashion show one day where you kind of design and put it all together?
It's so funny that you're saying that, because this is probably like the 4th conversation I've had since May started about like hosting my own fashion show one day. Yeah, I mean, by no means I am not as talented as a lot of designers out there. I mean, there's so much there's such a science that goes into designing. And so I would definitely leave that up to my designer friends. I probably wouldn't want to design my own line, but I would love to coordinate it because I've learned so much just about special events and coordinating as well. Because I spent a lot of years as well doing stuff in working special events, and I mean, even doing brand ambassador work in catering, like I've done all of that. And so I think I've seen what it's like to, bring people together in gatherings and then have that influence a lot of people. And I'm like, I would love to have that for, like you said, fashion and space, and host my own fashion show.
I think that would be fantastic. One of the things I like to ask people is, do they throw space themed parties? And
yeah, like Yuri's night.
So I think that, that really would be an amazing event, which I would definitely want to attend, because
yes.
I love the idea of space and fashion and even food and the catering, having it all come together in a really fun, unique way. And that's one of the things that's great about Yuri's night, is just seeing all of the people come together and what they wear, the outfits they choose. I go as a space chef, because I put my hat on.
I see that on your lab coat or your chef. Yeah,
my little chef hat. Put that on in my outfit. But it's that idea of being able to cross-platform these things. That space isn't just here in this compartment. That it touches everybody's lives, and even the fashion industry.
Yeah, completely. I mean, even the movies. I mean, the entertainment industry in general, like everything. It's touching everything. I mean, even my friends who are like fine artists as well, or they're working on like light installations and immersive exhibits. It's all centered around this space. And I think it's because space has so many different aspects to it, where space can be like both, satisfying to those who are really focused on being like, yes, science is going to be like the facts of all. And like, that's why I like it, because I want to have something concrete. And I understand that, even though we both know that, science isn't, it's about accepting that things may evolve later and there may be new theories, and that's okay. But I think that because of that specialness, it also satisfies a lot of the philosophical thinkers of, like, what if there were other dimensions that exist and we just can't access them yet? And are there parallel universes? And what is consciousness? What really is our observation? And I think that it satisfies all these different like elements of our brain. And and so I think it's such an incredible thing. That's why we're seeing it in all these different industries. It's, oh man, it's just awesome. Yeah.
It's funny because this is our first real conversation together.
It is. I know. I love it.
I could just keep talking to you, and our 30 minutes is actually already over. And no, I don't want it to end. I want to have more conversations. But I just want, for those of you that are listening, thank you for tuning in. Yeah. This has been great. Can you share with us the best ways to follow you? I know you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but if people want to keep tracking you and following you and learn what you're doing, what's the best way?
Yeah, so Astro Athens. So Astro is in astronomy, and then Athens as in the city in Greece. All one word, Astro Athens. That's my name on pretty much every social media platform you could think of. So it's YouTube. Also, astroathens.com is my website, and I have a bunch of stuff on there about launches and everything. Mm-hmm. And then Instagram, TikTok. I just started doing little DIY like space kind of DIY astrophysics, I call it. So yeah, YouTube, everything, Instagram, Facebook, Astro Athens.
That's fantastic. And thank you everybody who joined in and left a comment. And I will be again announcing the winner on my Facebook page later. And tomorrow we've got another great space snacks at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Hope you'll join in. Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Everyone.